Walk into any car dealership in America right now, and you'll see something strange happening on the showroom floor. The trucks and SUVs sitting under the lights aren't exotic. They're not Italian. They're not German. They're not badges most people can't pronounce. They're Ford. They're Chevy. They're Ram. They're Jeep. Names your father drove. Names you grew up trusting. And yet the sticker on the window looks like it belongs on a luxury sedan, not a family pickup. That's the story nobody wants to tell you, because it's uncomfortable. It's not about supercars getting more expensive. Nobody's shocked when a Lamborghini costs a fortune. This is about the vehicles that were supposed to be for everybody. The truck the contractor drives, the SUV the family takes to soccer practice, the muscle car the 25-year-old finally saves up for, quietly sliding out of reach for the very people who used to buy them without blinking. After years of watching sales floors, financing offices, and trade-in lines, I've noticed the same pattern over and over. A customer walks in wanting the truck their dad had, or the SUV their neighbor drives, and they walk out stunned by the number on the sheet. Not because the dealer is lying to them, because the number is just that high now, and it keeps climbing. Today, we're counting down 6 vehicles that prove it. 6 names every American recognizes immediately. No obscure imports, no 6-figure exotics nobody was ever going to afford anyway. These are trucks, muscle cars, and SUVs that built their reputation on being for the regular guy. And one by one, they've drifted into territory that regular guys simply can't follow. This is the collapse of affordability, happening in plain sight, model by model, sticker by sticker. And here's the part that makes this different from the usual "cars are expensive" complaint you hear online. This isn't about inflation in general, and it isn't about premium brands doing what premium brands have always done. This is about vehicles whose entire identity was built on being reachable. The truck the working guy could stretch for, the SUV the family could grow into, the performance car the young buyer could finally justify. When those specific vehicles start behaving like luxury purchases, something bigger than a simple price increase is happening. The relationship between everyday Americans and the brands they've always trusted is changing, and almost nobody is talking about it directly. Let's start the countdown. Number 6, the Dodge Charger. For decades, the Charger meant one thing to American buyers: real performance you could actually save up for. It wasn't a car for the country club. It was a car for the guy who worked overtime for a year so he could finally park something with some muscle in his driveway. That was the whole identity of the Charger: attainable American horsepower. The 2026 Charger starts around $49,995 before destination charges and options, and that number alone tells you something has shifted. This isn't a base trim mistake or a one-year price spike. It's a new generation of the car, built and positioned differently than the Chargers that came before it. The starting price now sits in territory that used to belong to entry-level luxury sedans, not muscle cars aimed at working-class buyers. To be fair, that starting figure moves depending on trim, powertrain, and options, and dealer incentives can bring real transaction prices down in some markets. This isn't about saying every Charger buyer pays 50 grand out the door. It's about what the number represents. The car that used to be the reward for a good year at work is now closer to a stretch goal for a lot of the people who used to buy it. The Charger didn't fail. It just became a different kind of purchase than the one people grew up expecting. That's the pattern you're going to see again and again on this list. It's not that these vehicles got worse, it's that the door to owning them got narrower. Number 5, the Ford F-150 Lightning. If there's one vehicle that represents America on 4 wheels, it's the F-150. It's been the best-selling vehicle in the country for decades, driven by contractors, ranchers, delivery drivers, and regular commuters who just wanted a truck that could do everything. So when Ford electrified it, it wasn't just a new product. It was a statement that the electric future had arrived for the most American vehicle there is. The Lightning launched with real excitement, but the STX trim, which was meant to be the accessible entry point, has carried a price tag around $63,345, and that's before you start adding the options that make an electric truck genuinely useful for towing or long-range work. For a lot of traditional F-150 buyers, that number simply doesn't match the math they've always used to justify a work truck. Here's the part that really tells the story. Ford didn't just struggle to sell the Lightning at that price. The company pulled back its original strategy of building the truck as a fully electric-only platform going forward, shifting focus toward a future range-extended version instead, after facing steep losses and demand that fell well short of projections. That's not a rumor. That's a company adjusting its entire roadmap because the buyers didn't show up the way the price assumed they would. To be clear, this isn't about electric trucks being rejected across the board. Plenty of buyers are interested in electrification. It's about price, charging infrastructure, and the disappearance of federal incentives, combining to push the Lightning out of reach for the exact buyer who made the gas-powered F-150 the best-selling vehicle in America for generations. Number 4. The Chevrolet Silverado EV. The Silverado name carries the same weight as the F-150 for a huge chunk of American buyers. This is the truck of the working man, the family hauling a boat, the guy who needs a real bed and real towing capacity without needing a commercial account to get one. There are cheaper work-focused configurations of the Silverado EV out there, and it's worth saying that clearly, because it would be misleading to pretend every single trim costs 6 figures. But once you move into the configurations most retail buyers actually want, the ones with real range, real comfort, and real capability, prices routinely climb past $70,000, and top trims can approach the $100,000 mark. For a nameplate built on being the practical choice, that's a dramatic shift. The market noticed. Silverado EV sales dropped by roughly 41% in the first quarter of 2026 alone, a steep enough decline that GM began redirecting investment back toward gasoline-powered trucks, responding to electric demand that came in well under expectations. When a company that builds this many trucks starts pulling money away from the electric version and putting it back into the gas engine, that tells you what the sales data is actually saying. The Silverado didn't get worse. The electric version simply asked a price that the traditional Silverado buyer, the guy who wants a dependable work truck, not a 6-figure technology showcase, wasn't in a position to pay. Now, if you've made it this far, this is exactly the kind of straight talk I try to bring every week. No sugarcoating, no dealership spin, just what the numbers actually show. If that's useful to you, go ahead and hit subscribe, because the next 3 vehicles on this list are where the story gets even more dramatic. Number 3. The Ram 1500 Limited Longhorn, or Tungsten. The Ram 1500 built its reputation the same way its rivals did, as a half-ton truck for people who actually needed to tow, haul, and work. But somewhere along the way, the top trims of the Ram lineup quietly crossed into full luxury territory, and a lot of buyers haven't fully clocked how far that shift has gone. A well-optioned 2026 Ram 1500 Limited Longhorn, evaluated recently with a realistic set of options, priced out at approximately $89,085. Let that sink in for a second. That's not a heavy-duty commercial truck. That's a half-ton pickup, the same basic category that used to be the accessible, everyman workhorse of the American truck market, priced within striking distance of 6 figures. This isn't about every Ram 1500 costing that much. Basework trims still exist, and they're priced very differently. The point is what's happened at the top of the lineup, where the vehicles most buyers actually want, the leather, the tech, the styling package, the badge that says you made it, have drifted so far upward that they're now competing with genuine luxury vehicles rather than with other trucks. Half-ton pickups were never supposed to require a luxury car budget. When a Ram Limited Longhorn or Tungsten crosses close to $90,000, it's not just selling a truck anymore. It's selling a lifestyle that a shrinking number of traditional truck buyers can actually afford to buy into. Number 2. The Jeep Grand Wagoneer. Jeep is not an exotic name. It's a brand Americans trust with off-roading, family trips, and rugged dependability, which is exactly why the Grand Wagoneer stings a little more than a European luxury SUV ever could. This is a vehicle wearing a badge people associate with accessibility, priced like it belongs somewhere else entirely. The 2026 Grand Wagoneer lineup starts in the $60,000 range, which is already a stretch for a huge portion of traditional Jeep buyers. But fully loaded versions push past $100,000, putting a Jeep-badged SUV directly in the same conversation as established luxury players that have decades of prestige behind their pricing. Here's what really tells the story, though. Jeep itself is offering promotional financing on the Grand Wagoneer, and market data shows plenty of supply sitting on lots, with real transaction prices frequently landing below MSRP. That's not what you see when demand is racing ahead of production. That's what you see when a company is working hard to convince a smaller than expected pool of buyers to say yes. To be fair, there has been some recent improvement in shipments, and Jeep has rolled out updates to keep the lineup fresh. This isn't a story about sales flatlining to zero. It's a story about a vehicle whose price has narrowed its potential buyer pool so much that discounts and financing incentives have become a necessary part of moving it off the lot. And now, number 1. The GMC Hummer EV. If you wanted to build a single vehicle that captured everything happening to affordability in America right now, you'd probably end up with something that looks a lot like the Hummer EV. It's enormous, it's heavy, it's electric, and it carries a price tag that sits at or above 6 figures depending on configuration, for a nameplate that Americans recognize instantly, with none of the ambiguity that comes with a distant European badge. This is the one I keep coming back to, because it isn't hiding behind unfamiliar branding or overseas prestige. It's GMC. It's a name from the same company that builds work trucks for contractors across the country. And yet the Hummer EV represents the exact opposite instinct. A vehicle built for scale and spectacle at a moment when the market was already signaling that electric trucks needed to be practical and affordable, not massive and expensive. Recent industry analysis of electric pickups has repeatedly pointed to the Hummer EV as a case study in demand, falling well short of what automakers projected when they greenlit the program. This isn't a small oversight. It reflects billions of dollars in investment chasing a buyer base that, at this price point, simply isn't large enough to sustain the volume the business case assumed. To be clear, saying demand fell short doesn't mean nobody is buying one. Some units are absolutely finding buyers. But when a vehicle this expensive, this large, and this heavily marketed struggles to hit its targets, it's not a fluke. It's the clearest signal in this entire list that American buyers, even ones with real money to spend, are pushing back against price tags that have grown faster than their patience. The Hummer came back as a 6-figure electric truck at exactly the moment buyers started rejecting expensive electric pickups across the board. That timing is not a coincidence. It's the collapse of affordability playing out in real time, with one of the most recognizable names in the American automotive industry standing right in the middle of it. Before we wrap up, here's the practical part. If you're someone who still wants one of these badges but can't stomach the number on today's window sticker, you're not out of options. You just have to shop smarter than the sticker wants you to. Look at last year's leftover inventory before the new model year floods in, since dealers are often more motivated to move outgoing stock. Look at lower trims that still get you the mechanical bones of the vehicle without the 6-figure options package. And if you're open to it, look at the used market for the previous generation of these same nameplates, where depreciation has already done the work that the new vehicle price tag hasn't caught up to yet. None of that erases the underlying problem, but it's the difference between waiting on the sidelines and actually getting into one of these vehicles without wrecking your budget. So here's where that leaves us. 6 vehicles. 6 names every American recognizes without a second of hesitation. A muscle car that used to be the reward for a good year of overtime. 2 of America's best-selling trucks, reborn as electric vehicles priced out of reach for the exact buyers who made them bestsellers in the first place. A half-ton pickup wearing a near 6-figure price tag on its nicest trims. A Jeep-badged SUV competing with luxury brands that have decades more prestige behind them. And a Hummer that came back bigger, heavier, and more expensive right as the market was telling manufacturers to go the other direction. None of these vehicles are bad. That's actually the hardest part of this story to sit with. The Charger still has real performance. The Lightning and the Silverado EV still haul and tow like proper trucks. The Ram still drives like a Ram. The Grand Wagoneer is still a genuinely capable Jeep. The Hummer is still an engineering achievement. The problem was never the vehicle. The problem is the shrinking number of people who can justify writing that check. This isn't the story of the American auto industry collapsing outright. It's the story of affordability quietly breaking down, one familiar badge at a time, while manufacturers bet on buyers who, it turns out, aren't there in the numbers they hoped for. Keep that in mind the next time you see a familiar name on a showroom floor with an unfamiliar price on the window. The badge might be the one you trust. The number might not be the one you remember. If this kind of honest breakdown is useful to you, hit subscribe, because there's more of this coming. The vehicles the industry doesn't want to talk about, and the real reasons behind the prices you're seeing today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.